Welcome to the Plato Paradigm, a paradigm shift in reading Plato's dialogues. Episode 26, Hippias Minor 375b to d. Hippias has just agreed that the soul missing the mark unwillingly is more worthless than the soul missing the mark willingly. But he qualified this by saying, well, at least in archery. So the question is, why? Why did he say that? We have to remember that missing the mark, the verb hamartano, doesn't just mean missing the mark. It can also mean doing wrong in general. And it's getting too close for Hippias' comfort to his escape clause that someone doing wrong willingly is considered worse than someone doing wrong unwillingly. Here we have the soul doing wrong unwillingly being more worthless than the soul doing wrong willingly, and this contradicts his escape clause. So by adding in archery at least, Hippias is retaining the original meaning of hamartano as missing the mark, and this doesn't contradict what he said. Socrates picks up on this reference to archery, and toxike techne shows that archery is a techne, it's an art, a craft, a skill. So Socrates now asks about other techne. Of course, in other techne, the verb hamartano doesn't mean missing the mark. It does have to mean doing wrong or making a mistake at least. Tit en iatrike, uchi he hekusa kaka ergadzomene perita somata iatricotera? Nay. What then? In medicine, isn't the soul willingly doing bad things concerning the body more medical? Yes. Socrates doesn't play about. Instead of using hamartano, he uses a phrase to say producing bad things to make it very clear. And Hippias is technically correct. If anyone can harm a body willingly, that is, never make a mistake in harming a body, this must be the professional, the expert in medicine. Iatros is a doctor. Iatrikos means pertaining to a doctor. Iatrike is the feminine for pertaining to a doctor, and usually it describes techne, the art, craft, skill. So iatrike techne is medicine in general. It's the craft pertaining to a doctor. And here we have a soul who is also iatrike, a soul pertaining to a doctor, and it's in the comparative, iatricotera, pertaining to a doctor more. So I've translated that as medical, but now we can see the connection between the craft, medicine, and the soul, the medical soul. This is a very general description of a soul, but it sounds, in connection with the iatrike techne, it sounds as though this soul is the soul of the expert in medicine. There was a debate in the ancient world, especially with regard to medicine, whether an expert in medicine has the interests of the patients at heart or can also harm as well as benefit the patient. For the purposes of this argument, it suffices that the doctor has ability and can harm or benefit. Socrates carries on with the more medical soul. Amenon ara haute en taute te techne tes me. Amenon. So it's better in this techne, craft skill, than the one which isn't. Yes, better. Tide, he kitharisticotera kai auleticotera kai talapanta takatatas technas te kaitas epistemas, uchi he amenon hekusa takaka ergadzetai kaita aisra kai examartane he deponerotera akusa. Finetai. Get ready for some strange translation. Socrates is still talking about a soul. What then? The more harpish and the more flutish and pertaining to all the other things according to technai and epistemae are fields of knowledge, doesn't the better willingly perform bad things and disgraceful things and do wrong? But the more wretched soul, unwillingly, it appears. Just as we had the soul pertaining more to a doctor, now we have the soul pertaining more to a harpist and a soul pertaining more to a flautist. And it sounds like we're talking about the souls of the experts in all of these different technai or epistemae, fields of knowledge. Earlier, Socrates exploited the fact that Hippias is the expert in most fields to get Hippias to agree that the expert is able not only to tell the truth, but also the one who can tell lies in each field. The principle of ability leads to the conclusion here that the very same experts can do harm as much as benefit in their particular fields. Indeed, Socrates doesn't even mention the benefits. He concentrates on bad things, disgraceful things, and examartane, doing wrong completely. We should recall that all of these examples are in the context of tools which we would prefer to use. We would prefer to use a doctor, a flautist, a harpist, who's so good at what they do that they do it badly willingly. Socrates now comes to one of his most absurd examples. Alamen putas keton dulon psuchas kektesai texaimethan malon tas hekusios etas akusios hamartanusas tekai kakurgusas hosamenus usas est tauta. Nay. And I suppose we would prefer to possess the souls of slaves willingly mistaking and doing bad things rather than those unwillingly, as being better at these things. Yes, any sane Athenian would prefer slaves who obey, in other words, slaves who have souls which benefit rather than harm. The emphasis here on possessing the souls of slaves rather than the slaves emphasizes that we here would prefer slaves who are willfully bad rather than slaves who simply make mistakes. And we would choose these willfully bad slaves because they are better at these things being playing the flute, playing the guitar, being a doctor. In what way are they better? They're better because they have the ability to do these things well, but they choose to do them badly. They have ability, therefore they are good, according to Hippias's first criterion. So far, the debate has been on things used, either parts of the body or tools or humans as tools. And all this has seemed to Hippias to be remote from his original escape clause, because this has nothing to do with law as such. It's the law which proves that the many think that someone who deliberately does bad is worse than someone who accidentally does bad. Now, however, Socrates suddenly changes the context so that it does affect the escape clause. This will threaten Hippias with a refutation. Socrates simply moves the soul from the tools to the agent. Tide, ten he meteran auton, u buloimath anhos beltisten ektestai? Nay. What then? Wouldn't we want to possess our own soul as best as possible? Yes. Possessing souls of tools has been the formula up until now, so Socrates is carrying on with it, but here it's completely out of context. Hippias agrees with the question because he would want his soul to be the best possible. For him, that means a soul which is most able at most fields, which is what he himself is. Ukun beltion estai ean hekusa kakurgete kai examartane ean akusa. So will it be better if willingly it does bad and is completely wrong, or if it is unwilling? Obviously, if we're looking at ability, the soul which does bad willingly is clearly better, because it has the ability to do good things, but also has the ability to do bad things willingly, while a bad soul will do bad things whether it wants to or not. It has no choice. So Hippias should choose the soul which does bad things willingly. That is the better soul. De non mentan o Socrates ehoi hecontes adicuntes beltius esontai ehoi acontes. But it would be terrible, Socrates, if those willingly doing injustice will be better than those doing injustice unwillingly. Hippias uses his favorite phrase, it would be terrible, or it would be strange, peculiar, if the people who did injustice willingly were considered better than those who did injustice unwillingly. This is exactly his escape clause. What Hippias has done here by exploding on Socrates now, just here, he has sidestepped the refutation. Socrates can now not say, and therefore you say that those who do injustice willingly are better than those who do injustice unwillingly. This is now not possible because Hippias has got in first to say that isn't good, that's a terrible thing. In heuristics, this works. This is a way to avoid refutation. Socrates replies, Alamen phainon taige ekton eremenon, and Hippias ukun emoige. But they actually appear to be from what has been said. Not to me, they don't. And this is how you become a great heuristician. You can agree to everything until the final step, at which point you interrupt, say it's not possible, and then disagree that the refutation follows from the whole argument. Don't worry, Socrates hasn't finished. We'll carry on next time with the final stage of the argument, but not necessarily the last episode.